Welcome to Bid on You, the podcast, where we help you navigate the chaos of life and experience the bliss of backing yourself. Hosted by yours truly, Marissa Lee. Every Friday, we sit down with creatives, artists, influencers, and just some regular folks to talk dating, adulting, faith, culture, and all the random thoughts in between. It's time to bid on you. So let's start the show.
It's just getting so big, obviously. It's hard to even get around these days. Like, hello? Beep, beep, toot, toot. I'm just trying to get it. You know, I want to be treated like everybody else.
That's
like,
right. That's right.
I'm normal. I'm so excited that you're here.
Yay, thank you for having me. Super honored.
It's crazy. So welcome back to Bid on You. Today we're joined by producer and just honestly incredible human being, Chanshi Chibwe. Woo! That's me making applause, and you should be at home too. We're going to be talking about evolving in your 20s, going into your 30s, so forth and so on. And just like if you feel a rebrand coming on, or you know, feel totally different than the 23-year-old version, Lord willing, of
Truly.
you, this episode's for you. So stick around, and we're going to start the show. But before we do, make sure to rate the show, like the show, follow the show. Keep up with us on Instagram, TikTok, all of it. You don't want to miss any of the fun that we have happening. So, Chanshi, tell us a little bit about yourself before I get to yapping. Like, let the people know what's going on. Who are you?
Who am I? So my name is Chanshi Chibwe. Some alliteration for y'all. I'm from Philly adjacent, so don't come for me. I'm from like a little suburb called Royersford, Pennsylvania.
Which you may recognize because you know who else is from there.
A very interesting public figure, actually, who in fact was the last Bachelor, not the current, the last Bachelor from the same
was
time.
The second to like the one right before this.
Yes, so yeah, good old Joey. Yeah, we were neighbors actually. My brother and him rode the bus together, and they're little friends and stuff, and yeah. Good times. So I'm from, what I should have said is I'm Chanshi. I'm from Joey's hometown.
This is hometown. This is an episode
so
of hometown.
Very exciting.
Shout out Kelsey. She's beautiful, but like, wish it was me. Whatever. It's fine.
Well, we can, we'll see.
God got better. Mm-hmm. Imagine that.
We never know.
Picture it.
We never know. But yeah, so I've been in LA for 15 years, which is crazy. Woo. I could have a whole 15-year-old child. I moved here when I do not have one, just to be clear.
That's such an interesting way to think about it.
That's what I've been thinking more. I'm like, I could have a whole teenager. That's how long I've been here.
I always say it like I'm turning, like I'm like, I keep saying to people, I'll be 7 in May. Like I'm turning 7 years old. I don't think of like I'm turning 15, but yeah, at that point you wouldn't even need to say it. It's like, girl, you're getting your license.
But I came here when I was 18 for school. So I went to Pepperdine and it was a great time. But yeah, I ended up rolling right into the film industry. So I started off as an assistant and then stayed at the same company. It changed a whole lot, but I ended up finding my place in producing. So and I currently produce independently, which is thrilling. It's like
it's living life on the edge.
It's life on the edge. Yeah. It's a joy and a horror at the same time. No, really though, it's a gift. It's a privilege to get to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's me.
Oh, well, I'm excited for whatever your next chapter may bring, next project may bring. I feel like we'll talk about that obviously in depth because we kind of always. Chanshi's like the person where our first hang, if you could even call it that, was like, why are we here for 200 hours getting into our deepest, darkest? So I think maybe this will be the lightest it gets between us in this episode. Right. So it'll be a nice switch up. Yes. At least for you, I won't be like trauma dump. So we'll try not to, at least, because that's not y'all's business. So here we go. But what is your business is this episode. So we're going to jump right in. How would you, you came out here for school around 18, I'm assuming. And so then all of your 20s were spent in Los Angeles.
Yep.
At this rate, it's given same. Well, I guess I was 20 and some of 21 in Alabama, but potato. But how would you describe yourself at the start of your 20s versus where you are today, like in your early 30s and so forth?
Yeah. So Chanshi in her early 20s I was a very, very quiet version of myself now. I would like to think that like I had the same essence of who I am now, but at a much louder volume and also completely independent of like external pressures. So like in my early 20s, I love people, but I loved people to the point of a constant yielding to others. And that meant that yielding to even as simple as, you know, it seems silly, but it's like asking like, what do you want for dinner? Right. Easy to say, well, I'm in the mood for this, that. My default is always whatever you like. I'm not craving anything. And it was years of I'm not craving anything to where I realized I actually do have cravings, but I was constantly in such an agreeable place to where I would say comfortably agreeable until like the built up resentment hit me at like mid 20s. We'll get to that later.
Were you really?
But really, yeah. But truly, I was just kind of like just a really sort of peaceable, kind of quiet, just get to know me, unlock my like goofy cuckoo-ness. I'm still like a blurred, but I was a little bit more actively blurty, meaning black nerd. For those who don't know, but the privilege to understand, yeah. You know what I mean?
I mean like a jock. Like I'm like,
well, what do you mean
a block?
I was. I always ask people like, would we be friends in high school? And I'm like, you know, most people wouldn't. I was playing the tuba in high school. I was in the marching bands. I'm not anime nerd.
Because you know I'll be friends with the plants. Like I'm friends with everybody.
But you were like, you know, sunshine, cheerleading,
and I would have forced you to talk to me just the same. I mean, it's not
that's
that
true.
Than what it is
you know
now.
what? Because the popular girls in my school were not very friendly. Oh, so I'm like, I would have been really nice to enjoy
like,
that.
Hey, girl, we would have like AP Bio together, and we'd be locked in.
That'd be so cute.
I'm certain of it. So look, it's meant to be.
Yes,
in whatever timeline.
Yes, exactly.
That. And then how's that different than now?
So now, I'm just a lot more frank. I think just being able to recognize like my own needs and desires in relationships, and so I think I'm in a place where I can like be a peaceable person without being an agreeable person, meaning like I'm not just my goal isn't to yield or to like prevent like, you know, disconnection, friction, whatever it is, but friction. But my goal is to show up honestly in like the friendships that way, or relationships, whatever it is, so that we can like create like a more pure, authentic, and sweet connection. I'm still like, again, I have a very like I always say like I have like a very deep purse of patience, and that's still a gift that I've always had, but now I can harness it in a much healthier way to where I'm not like erasing myself from the equation, if that makes sense.
That's amazing. So that kind of perfectly feeds into the next question, which was sort of like, how did you do that? But it's essentially, how has your confidence evolved as you've grown into, you know, a newer version of yourself? And I feel like I was watching TikTok, like it's TV. I saw a TikTok where a girl was like, is anyone else like rebranding in their late 20s? Like, and it was one of those TikToks, beautiful girl, but it's one of those TikToks where it was like, go on, you know what I mean? And some of the people in the comments were like, how do I do it? And all the comments were like, I'm a different person at 18, 25, all these different ages. Yeah. And it made me really think of, I would say confidence was such a word that stuck with me in that, because I remember being like 21, having just moved out here, was working at Universal, was on the E floor. So like with the executive assistants, the for lifers, like it's jail. But you know, my close friends were like 50, and because I saw them every day and whatnot, and they would just tell me like, "Oh, you won't care about that, or that won't matter to you what that person says," and all this stuff. And to me, I'm fresh out of college. I just moved across the country. I'm literally a little Southern baby. Like, what are you talking about, girl? I'm always gonna care like what these people have to say. And I'm not saying by any means, because knock on wood, that I've just completely lost that care, but it genuinely is like. I was thinking about this earlier. Like I tell my therapist, it's like a peace that comes from just like, okay, cool. I think there is an accountability within yourself that once you form that relationship with yourself where it's like, I'm going to hold myself to this standard and try my best when possible with grace to show up to that standard, that doesn't leave you as like crashed out if other people don't meet it or see that. Yeah. Because it's like, I know, and I always make this, you know, Alabama football, I always say like I left it all in the field. Yeah, like I really try to hold myself to like showing up as me, doing the best that I can, communicating when possible. And I'm not perfect at it by any means, but I think that that's been so freeing. And it's just funny when I think back to 7 years ago, where I was like, nah, no way. I'll always be concerned with what people have to say. Like, that is my confidence. And now my confidence, it's like I can see it happening as I get older, which is cool because that's what they said would happen. Yeah. So for you, how did you sort of How did that evolution go for you?
Yeah. And will quickly say, I love what you talked about. I think it's so important because it requires you to look back to even recognize like how far you've come, because that's what's
That's
so...
a word. Catch it.
Yeah. Stole from somebody, plagiarized from
Pause,
somebody.
look back, and then
Figure it out. Nobody sue me. But it is like, it's such a crucial part of continuing to even recognize where you have gone or come from, where you're going, like where you are and where you're going. And so I think for me, a big part was definitely like the currency, the weight I was allowing other people to have about like determining my value, whether as like a friend or like a colleague or whatever it was. And I think, again, like I said earlier, I was, quietly agreeable and thought I was just cool with everything all the time, and then quickly figure out you're not. And I found myself feeling extremely, just detached, like very despondent, very like in my routine with work. I had a very had an amazing job, but like quite overwhelming with the volume of work. The studio systems was like crazy in and of itself, but I was so burned out on and so lost in my own feelings that I didn't know how to even like reach to anybody. And so I remember like my best friend Bree, she was like, and she and I were super close and like went to college together. We were like roommates. Even worked together for some point. We also shared a dog, and you know what? We're still best friends. So
like,
God bless. I know, for real. We have shared custody. She's got him right now. But I remember she reached out, and this is what like friendship community is so important. But she reached out and was like, "Hey, I'm just noticing like there's something like off. Like you've been really just detached." And then of course like I was expressing myself very passive aggressively consistently, and I'm like, it was more than just like a moment. It was like months of this. And I think, and it was a little bit of like an intervention, and I was like 25, I think.
Yeah.
And basically I was like, Lord, what is going on? And that's why I haven't mentioned it yet, but like really it's like God revealing like my identity and then showing me the things. But at that point on, I recognized like, I thought I could just erase myself from the equation of all problems in the world and that would fix it. And so God was like, nah, like you got to get in there. You have to be you're not a yielder. I've never created you to be that person. Wow. And so it was kind of like a rediscovery of like, who am I and what do I have to say? Like, do I actually believe my words are valuable?
Right.
And so when I started to confront those like insecurities in every area of my life, I started to recognize what people, for one, were already kind of saying about me. Right. But actually believing it and showing up in that way. So I remember like, this was like early on, like the early first couple years, every mistake I made, I mean, I would be like, I couldn't sleep. I wouldn't eat. I was like anxious. Like I'd get depressed when things, I was just very, and despite getting good feedback. Right. But then over the years, as I worked on just like knowing who I was, even just articulating, like, here are the lies, here's the truth. One of these days I had a wrinkle where I essentially offended somebody that was like, high up, whatever, white gloves type of connection. And that's like my specialty. I'm very like pretty good at navigating those relationships, but this person was offended. That would have sent me into like a full crash out spiral for multiple decades. Yeah. But I was actually like, okay. Like you wouldn't hear from me. Like she's gone.
It's over.
But I was like, oh, I'm okay. And I was, that was my look back moment to go, oh, I actually believe that I'm not like, I'm more valuable than like my mistakes. And so that was kind of like the progressive movement towards more confidence and believing who I am.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It also sounds like, I'm just so excited that we're doing this episode because I feel like I'm really just so generous because I'm giving you thank you. I'm allowing y'all to experience the wisdom and like just the that is you. I'm just like really excited. So I got really excited, and also because I know you and I love you, and that makes me so happy. But I think that what it sounds like is a lot of trial and error as well. Like I think. Yes. It's really packaged, and it could seem like this in a quick TikTok video or even a podcast episode where it's like, oh, you just do that or give it a few years, it'll come. But it's like genuinely getting up each day and like handling things. Sometimes you'll regress, sometimes you'll progress, sometimes you'll stay the same and be like, oh, that worked, it worked. And it's like trying different things on and being consistent for yourself. Because it's like you have to sort of prove the thought. And I think that's really powerful that you said the truth versus the lies. And I think something that I have to work on is like that self-fulfilling prophecy or like confirmation bias, right? Like if I believe that I am this, then I should look for that in the world, and I should look for reinforcement of that, or not even the world, from the Lord, and just reinforcement from like the community and the love that he's given me and within myself and my gifts. But if I believe the negative, then that's like, I'm really good at seeing that. I'm really good at finding the lies out there. So it really is like, not to get into neuroscience, because I'm no doctor, but like the neural pathways and how they can be rewired is so interesting to me. And Dr. Anita Phillips, all of that, because she gives the faith and the science blend. Love her. She down the road now at 1. Did you hear?
She sure is.
I was like, well, girl, I have to double back. Love your Oasis.
That's like my North Star.
Slide over here and see what's going on. Yeah, she's so good. I was talking about her to my coworker yesterday. But basically just like how thoughts are born, right? And then how they form and shape, or even inside out if you've seen it. But it's just the idea that like you have to give confirming evidence to whatever it is that you're trying to prove. So it's like, I can make a mistake and the world not end. You make a mistake, the world doesn't end. Oh, that could be true. Like your brain's just like,
those
it's just like constantly taking little information in, and it's such a powerful little thing, an organ that you can really shape by what you feed it, and then what you allow it to look.
That's so true.
What you allow it to crave.
Hey,
to your cravings earlier. Ooh,
that's
like
good.
That. Come on, cravings.
That's
hashtag.
Right.
I love that.
That's so good.
With that same side of it, what's a misconception? I guess I kind of touched on it, that it'll like happen overnight, but what's a misconception in your opinion that people have just about changing and evolving in your 20s?
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. There's like so many, I think, but I think for one, I love that you described the 20s as trial and error. That's like the best way to describe it, in my opinion, because it's like it's an exploration of like who you are. You learn to figure out, like, to try things on and then like drop them. Like I don't know how I would have like made it through my 20s without like my anchor in God, because that's like the thing that doesn't change, right? But like God doesn't say we're not going to be like, that's a constant process of like shedding and renewing every day, dying to yourself, all that stuff. But in the 20s, it's like you've never done this before. You've never had like a corporate job, perhaps. You've never had maybe like a serious relationship. You've never had like a best friend fight that's like serious. Like, all those things like teach you so much about like who you truly are, especially like when you are yielding to the Lord. So I think for one, be open-handed, because I think the 20s is not about compare. Like no part of your life is ever about comparing the track, but like definitely not in the 20s. Like everyone's life looks so radically different. I spent like 9 years at one company. Most people had different stories of like doing different places. Didn't make one better or worse.
I've been in it,
but it truly was like, like it's not supposed
maybe
to
like my hometown. That's the only place I've been for 9 years.
Well, there we go.
In life. Ever.
That's right. Well, we got you for 7 here, though.
Yeah, I know.
We're on our way to 9.
Like a job, the same company.
Fair.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it's like, that had its own benefit, its own costs. But I think like just the idea that the 20s should look or feel a certain way, some expectation is just like not true whatsoever. And then second, which I think is even more important, is that like, I'll just say getting older, aging, whatever you want to call it, is not a death sentence. It's not the end of the world. And it's actually a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I'm like, I don't know, like there's some fear about like 30s coming, and it's like I'm looking it in the face, and it's like, no, like it's a beautiful, first of all, it's a privilege to age, Lord, truly privilege to live,
they say.
And secondly, like with age experiences comes more wisdom, and that means less like less avoidable stress and traumas. Like now you have therapy under your belt, you've worked through things. Like it's actually, I personally think life just gets better in that sense. You can't predict what happens, but like I cope with life more, or in a healthier way. You do have like the fluffy tailness of like being you don't really know things as much. You're like, oh, it's all great and cute. And that's a sweet thing. It's also unique about the 20s, which I love. But like, I don't know, there's nothing to fear about going through your 20s and approaching your 30s. So don't feel like you need to like, I don't know, it's like once it's here, it's gone, and it's like it's over, game over. That idea I think is crazy. I
think that my brain is on that. So
mine, by the way, that's from experience.
I love that you're saying
that's
that.
my experience of that's from me having been in that place and having had it shed off of me, to be very clear.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think, well, that's encouraging because that means it can be shed. I think I'm trying to switch my mind on it. I think I used to have this thing, which is like an actual, I don't know if it was to the degree of a condition, but it's called something, phenomenon. But like, I can remember the man I was dating in my like, I guess that was mid-20s, when I was like 24, turning 25. And I can remember telling him like, oh, I just feel like this is, trigger warning, but I was like, I feel like I'm not gonna like live to be old. Like I feel like I'm gonna pass away young. And I used to like, we rebuke in the name of Jesus, facts. I just like couldn't really imagine 30 and up. So like when I would picture life, I couldn't see it. Like I couldn't see 30 and then beyond. It was so interesting. And then thank the Lord, like over time that has changed.
Yeah.
And I think now what I'm more so experiencing is being at the tail end of my 20s and being like, okay, maybe just coming to terms with some of the things that I thought would like either be the case, not even by now, but would be being set up. So for example, like I always pictured, I'll be married in my early 30s or like have children in my early 30s. And that's not, it's not like, who knows? God is funny. We make our plans, he laughs. But I don't know, just standing here at 28, I'm like, all right, Lord, I'm just not trying to push you or anything. But I think I also pictured that, but I didn't know like what LA would be like, right? Like I have friends that are there, but they live in Alabama or they live in the Midwest or they live in a totally different environment. And then I have amazing friends like you that we are still believing for God to do his big one, right? And so it's just looking at that spectrum and wondering where I'm going to fall is what's bringing me a bit of anxiety. I think when it comes to achieving things in life and career and all those things, probably last year when I was in grad school and like going through a lot of transition, as you know, I was a little more like everything's falling apart. But now I'm like, okay, life truly does like go on and like you figure it out and you get different opportunities. But I think when it comes to certain things like just bigger ticket items like family and whatnot, it is difficult to start approaching, this milestone in life and being like, oh, I just pictured, my 29th birthday, which we still have several months until. But I was like, for my 29th birthday, we'll throw a rager and like me and my fiance will be doing, girl, what? Like, you know what I mean? But like fair, I don't know, not too late.
Absolutely
but, not. So I think like those are more so what I deal with. Thank the Lord, not so much like I won't live to see it, but just like, what if I'm seeing it and it looks different than what I'd hoped? And I think that's what a lot of people are facing. And I think even in that is the rebranding or the shedding, however you want to refer to it. It's just like, okay, well, maybe what I wanted then, I could still want it now. It could just look different, or I could not even want that anymore, or it could not be suitable or conducive for where I am today. If I get an opportunity tomorrow and it's a dream, I love living in LA, but if they're like, we want you to open office in Paris, like that might be what I have to do.
Sorry, in Paris.
I'm just like, you never know, right? Hashtag call me, y'all. Marissa in Paris again, but for real this time. So you just never know where life's going to take you. It's so difficult to have all these things in your mind and then to kind of reckon with, oh, it might not go that way.
Yeah.
Spooky, which is aging in general. When you're 7, you're like, I'll be an astronaut in the evening and a pediatrician during the day. But you just don't know that's like, A, not really feasible, but B, like life starts to happen and you find out otherwise. The same way you're saying you lose that fluffy tailness. So I do think that's something that I'm trying to hold on to. Yeah. But I'm getting a little more jaded as we're getting older, I think.
Yeah. It's so real, Marissa. It's so real. And I can admit that there's still things that I reckon with. I'm still reckoning with like, man, like I had this expectation, but like this is my reality, which I think is part of life, right, in general. But I think there is something to like the milestone of 30 and what that feels like. And I know for women in particular too, it's like, okay, like what does that mean for like family and children and all that stuff? And like I literally was just, praying about this. I'm like, oh Lord, I'm gonna be 33 this year. So like, what does this look like? Cause I didn't picture it this way. Yeah. But I think there's a couple things that I have been actively learning to do. For one, and which I think what is great that you are doing and do a great job of is like identifying the feelings. That's something I'm really terrible at and I've learned over the years, but it's like you will not be able to actually walk through or work through it if you are in constant denial, if you're in like but it's gonna be okay, I'm like happy I have breath in my lungs. It's like, sure, like you can, multiple things can be true, like you can still have a posture of gratitude when you are just like kind of pissed at like where like life has like led you to, or just being like, God, like what gives? What's like I've been like
just out of curiosity, really.
like we have like, can we exchange notes about this like decision?
I just was wondering if something happened.
It's like,
I'm making sure y'all good up there, because it's giving the war is waging. Okay, and I need to suit up.
His weapons are
and
forming
come up there to visit
and attempting to prosper. They
have hands.
They for sure do.
They're not just any old weapons.
No,
they're weapons of mass destruction.
And
they're not gonna prosper, honey, but they're gonna web.
They're trying their darndest, most definitely.
Girl, is it that serious? Why are you so obsessed with me? It's weird. It's literally weird.
Oh, it's good. But that's like the first piece of the matter that I think I'm learning more. What's like how much like God actually wants the honest, authentic like pain, and the grief, honestly, around like it is a form of grief, I think, to say like this is a departure from what I actually hoped for or imagined. You know, like hope deferred makes the heart sick. So it's like my heart feels sick, Lord, and like but then it's like what typically happens next is where it's like, okay, here's how he can help to position my hope, so that I don't end up repeating this cycle. Because I think it was Stephanie, Pastor Stephanie Ike, she said recently, like she stopped praying within timelines because she felt like she was giving the enemy opportunity to come for her neck. Like, Lord, I pray this will happen in 2 years, and now it's like, ooh, goody, I have now an alarm clock to come for her in every way on the eve of her deadline for the Lord that the Lord didn't highlight, but she just wanted. And now suddenly God has failed her. And it really was like, it's still gagging me, honestly.
I'm really upset. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's tough.
That's why I'm just starting to pray in my head, because
well,
he's not gonna take
right. Well, it's not okay, and I don't want to make it to seem like the devil is in timelines. It's not that, but it's more just to say like, okay, what are the things that I'm like? Hope has been a word that come up a lot, and like, where is my like? What's my hope for, and who is my hope in, and like, what has God actually said as well? Because again, like hoping for marriage is not, none of these things are like, they're beautiful things that we are like meant to desire. But like, what has he said to me? He's not giving me a timeline. So I'm like, okay, Lord, I have a hope and a desire of my own. You have your own plan. The plan's going to win over my hope and desire, because it's always better than what I'm
seeing.
Want.
God's purpose will prevail.
Right. It will absolutely prevail. And so, but when our plans are not his plans and my hope or my desire are not on the same page, like, how do I get there? Like, how do I actually close the gap? First, you have to grieve, I think, what was the desire, or at least the expectation for the how. Yeah. And then I think secondly is to revisit, like, first, I think for me, it's just been focusing on like who God is, because sometimes thinking about the future actually can be more triggering of that pain, because I think about what I don't have more. So I'm just like, God, it's not comforting for me to think about imaginary husband right now. Like right now, it like actually is aggravating, because it's just reminding me of what's not here. You're not giving me a timeline. I'm just frustrated. That's like, honestly, like I have felt that a lot. And so I'm like, Lord, I need your present comfort and like presence now to first heal the grief I am experiencing about this gap in our plans not coming together. And that's actually kind of like the point, I think, in all of it, is like, how can I be content right in today? How do I actually achieve that practically, and not just like sprinkle the dust on top of my pain, but really it's radically inviting God into the grief and to heal it, to where now I have a much gentler hold of the desires that I have put in front of him. And I don't feel like the stakes are as high either. And I also ask, I always pray this too. It's like, all right, Lord, if I'm going to wait for like the husband and the family, like I want to be bored. I want to be like, my life to feel full and all these things. And he has absolutely met me on that. And so I think for that is like, if there's a specific desire or you have, I'll pray for like, okay, here's my desire for the weight. So it's like, okay, God, I'm waiting.
That's
like
good.
This
Are y'all hearing her? That's good, young lady. Here's my desire for the weight. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Well,
I just wanted to make sure they were listening. Keep going, because that is good. You're in this people's place preaching.
This is from a very honest place, like of just being like, okay, God, I'm very frustrated about this part of my life. So, all right, I need swimmers to get through this like pool. So I'm not at the end of the pool yet, but like, can you give me some swimmers? Can you give me some like friends to swim with? Can you give me something to like feel passionate about to like get me there?
Relax a little bit.
Yeah. Exactly.
Water gun. Some kind of fun.
Yes. A little water gun. Something. Yeah. A little ducky. And I find that those little like baby asks have also brought me some comfort, because it also reminds you that God does care. Like he does care.
He's not like, too bad, girl, get over it.
He's not like, loser. Like, you know, it's like, no.
Not you single.
You're still there.
What? That'd be crazy. Imagine if that'd be crazy. Not my God.
Right.
Maybe y'all's not mine. That's crazy.
Like, Jesus is not. He's, you know, he laughs with, not at.
Yeah. Hello?
Unless you're just doing something ridiculous. Then,
he collected my tears in a jar.
Yes, so. That's right. That's right. He's a comforter. Hello. But that's definitely a strategy that's helped me, I think. And even honestly, I was just talking to a friend about this. It's like, you don't need it for even tomorrow. Just like, God, the next hour, please meet me here. And incrementally, I believe he continues to bring you that satisfaction and content to where the thing that I'm praying for, asking for, the stakes just don't feel as high. It's still important to me. I still have to reckon with the like feeling of not having that thing, but it's no longer like ruling me to the place where I'm now feeling like it's actively taking something, my joy from me. Anyway,
that's so good.
That's the best I can
Holy Spirit
say.
Help me, because I feel like what's coming up is like, I think that's a part of evolving in your 20s and maturing in general, like emotionally and mentally and physically maturing, right, in all the ways, and then ideally spiritually as well, because self-control was what came into my mind, and obviously that's a fruit of the Spirit. So all the connections of maturing there, but I think when you're younger, it's like, I want it now, you know what I mean? And then that kind of continues, and then you're in your 20s and you're like, well, why can't I have it? You know, maybe midway you're like, it's starting to get there, and then towards the end of it, it's like, okay, I've seen things either go my way or me have to pivot, and I've survived or even thrived through both of those things. So I think then you start reaching a place of, okay, everything is not the end of the world. It's not the most urgent thing in the world. And I'm sure someone's watching this like, girl, you're at the end of your 20s, like, just wait till 43, then you'll, you know what I mean? Like, this is all I know for today. But I just think that is a part of like the rebranding and the evolution of your 20s. It's like you started with everything ahead of you, and you still have probably, the people say, I'm getting there, everything ahead of you, but you have a little more guidance on how to get there. And if it doesn't come tonight, it doesn't feel like it's never going to happen. That's good.
You have memories. You have memories of how God's shown up for you. You have like a quiver of arrows to go, okay, God, you did do that for me. You did show up here. You
did give me that job. You did get me out of that. You did bring me this community of people. You did bring me across the country. Totally different time zones for us. People, we didn't know nobody, didn't have anything.
Right.
And here we are today.
And people are like praying for, pleading for the things that you enjoy.
And you're sitting in right now.
You're sitting in right now. And even yourself, right? It's like a friend was talking about like, you know, think about the things that you had like cried, screamed, threw up, begged God for, that you have today that you don't even remember what it was like to desire it or crave it. And so it's so like, good. You know, so
what would you say is the biggest lesson then with all of that? I think we're dancing on it, but that you're taking, that you took from your 20s into your 30s?
The biggest lesson. I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is, that like, it's kind of an odd thing to realize like you are a student of yourself. You don't know yourself. Like, I did not make myself. So it's like, how could I tell the designer that like I know myself, like better than he who actually made me? And it seems like I've been really recognizing how many of these very foundational truths about like just life with God, they're not trite. They're actually true, because you recognize like, oh, all my anxiety, all this stuff, all these whatever pivots that don't make sense. They are, if you trace them all back down to, it's like, oh, I don't actually believe that God knows more than me. I don't believe that God made me,
Very true.
in his image. I don't believe he loves me without having to prove myself. So it's like those foundational truths are so cracked up, and that's what leads to all these other symptomatic issues. Right. Like, literally, it's that little tree, that little belief system. And I think breaking that thing down has been like, okay, I actually have to like have faith that God knows and sees more in me. Because if I chose to author my life in the last 10 years, it would have looked nothing the way it looked. I had so many insecurities about who I was and my voice.
Yeah.
And the Lord continually not only spoke over me directly, but through people he installed in my life, to where I was doing things that like just made no sense. I'm like, oh, I'm not even qualified to do this, but I'm doing it, And it was God's promotion through my life that I only was able to do or believe or be in the position to do that because I had to have faith that he knew me more than me. And so I like myself a lot more because I believe God more. I'm still a work in progress. Like, you don't just arrive at 30, but you're a heck of a lot less burdened by voices, by opinions, by people that just aren't reflecting God's voice. So that's number one. Listen to God's voice is the only one that should matter. That does matter, to be honest. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I feel like even just in our time of knowing each other, like I've seen you I'll never forget like being at the worship night for Good Fridays, and then you being like, let me go up here and pray, and then just like being wrecked and sobbing, and literally me just being like, oh, I can see so clearly. Like, it's just cool. It's the power of like community, but also when God is speaking to you about original design, when God's speaking to you about your design, like you can see others as well. I feel like, and often you can see it in others before you can even see it in yourself, which is why it's so important to have people that bid on you, LOL. But I don't know. I just think it's really cool to watch you continue to evolve, like even in just not even a year's time, as to how you're just like stepping more and more into who I truly believe you were created to be, and the spaces you're going to occupy, and the presence that you're going to continue to usher in this kingdom side. Okay, so I'm excited. I love that.
You, my friend.
I'm honored to be along for the ride. And we're just going to wind down with bids, which are just like questions, letters, etc. on our show that the people can ask. Okay. So send them in to our DMs or however you want to reach me, call me, beat me, and then we might answer them on the show. But really quickly, how do you handle what you just touched on with like focusing on God's voice, but how do you handle the fear of outgrowing people, places, or even careers when stepping into a new version of yourself?
Ooh, it's a good question.
They say this is all great, girl, but how do we do it?
Yeah. Oof, girl.
You know, we're a practical show.
You're real practical. Okay, so I had an experience where the mega career experience was about 9 years roughly. The way that ended was, it wasn't a natural conclusion. I left, but not, I will say, not by my own volition. It was I really felt the Lord tell me I have to go. Yeah. And because of that, I didn't register the registration of it's time to go. I didn't feel comforted by that, where I'm like, okay, this is no longer for me. I need to move forward. So it was a little bit of like a leap, faith leap, I should say, to trust that that God knew it was time before I did. Right. But over time, I realized that I actually did know it was time for me, but it was masked by my fear of not having steady income, fear of
That's
being
tough.
Independent, fear of all this stuff and in all of that, I had basically 6 months of before I had to actually leave, when I had the conversation with my boss, and who was just wonderful and so supportive. But in that reckoning process of okay, I have this time period here. I don't know. I think I'll start here. The whole idea that our purpose is in our job or in whatever is, I don't personally believe. I think our purpose, like, I think we're made on purpose, right? I think we're made to like worship the Lord, to love him with all our heart, mind, and soul, love your neighbor as yourself. Oh yes, I believe that we're made on purpose. But I believe we're given sets of assignments. So assignments in careers, assignments in relationships, like friendships, assignments and all that. Some are seasonal, some are lifelong, whatever. I think the easiest way for me to understand and reckon with that is when I am actively reminding myself that everything's an assignment, right? You have permanent ones too, right? Where it's like, you marry that man, so you can huff and puff all you want right now because you're mad, but that's your permanent assignment. But you might also have like, okay, this is like, yeah, everything. But he might also say, okay, I'm putting you in this pod to serve this purpose right now, but the Lord hasn't given you the green light and this will be forever, right? So if he's shifting, you feel like the seasons are shifting, it may be less scary to you because you are in constant check with the Lord about like this assignment, essentially. And then with career, again, it's like, okay, God, like I am resisting right now, but it has always been an assignment. So the next thing is an assignment. What I'm doing right now, independent life, is also an assignment. And whenever that shifts and changes, I keep remembering that like I was never in control and God actually knows better. If I hadn't left my previous role, I can't guarantee anything, but I most certainly know I would not have, I shouldn't say that. I don't think it's likely I would have even come to Good Fridays because I had such terrible boundaries where I was like, I had so much to do. Essentially just like when I'm approaching life, like relationships, jobs, whatever it is, checking with God because we live through a series of assignments, whether it's like a career role or whatever it is, or a certain friendship or whatever it might be. So when you start feeling like the itch in the outgrowing piece, two things. One, it could be that you're meant to be outgrowing and itching because God's asking you to move forward and move on, or you are itching and the Lord wants you to learn something to, you need to work through those itches to remain at that assignment. And you can go through multiple, right? Because you can't just be like, I'm itchy, time to go. Like it's
bye.
Not how,
that's all avoidance.
Yeah, that's avoidance. It's a little bit of running away, a little bit of like, I don't want to deal with pain.
Right.
It's not always the case. It just depends on like, what is the assignment with that? Yeah. And I don't think it's always simple, but yeah. And I will also say like to be clear, itchiness, especially when it comes to like friendships, all of that, it's much more complex than just like move on. There's a lot of levels and layers to that, for sure. And all of that. But
we have lots of episodes on that.
Plenty.
So go back and watch those.
There we go. That's right.
So
the archives.
Yeah, the archives. And not that we have the answers, but you might be able to piece two and two together and get 22, hopefully. So we'll see. No, I agree with that. I think it makes me think of this post I saw, maybe it was LinkedIn, fiddly enough, a while ago, that was just talking about instead of attaching yourself to a career or a job or a company, attach yourself to a purpose. Yeah. Therefore, wherever you go, whatever you do, that purpose persists. Yes. And I think like if I look at, obviously when I worked at TikTok, that was such a big part of my identity, and it's a TikTok and or like I've always worked at really big companies, really big names. Now being in the startup life, it's like a different lane for me. But I think when I was reading that post and I thought about similar to assignment, purpose, it's interchangeable, right? It's like, okay, if God has given you even deeper, like I could look at it as like, okay, I really care about like marginalized communities and like giving creators voices that are always at the forefront. And then I really care about creativity and I really care about storytelling. But then it's like, if you really dig, it's like, oh, you really care about storytelling. And so whatever you're doing, that can be like the purpose that's driving it, even if it's if it's in a different car. Yeah.
I think that's beautifully said. Beautifully said. That's exactly it. Just not, attaching your identity. That's something that I definitely reckoned with, like leaving MGM and being independent and feeling like I had this, I would say like for months, like, oh, I just left MGM. Versus just like, I'm independent. It's like, I'm not a struggling artist. I'm like, I am, but it's not about, like you said, it's not who I am. It's what I'm doing now. It's also not something to be ashamed of either. That's good. But that's lovely.
And that takes time, and it takes, again, those experiences to show you otherwise.
Yep. Pull that little arrow out.
Hello. And let
Katniss.
And on that note, we always close out with, how are you going to bid on you in this next season of life?
Okay, how am I gonna bid on me? I am going to be more of a doer. I'm good at listening. I'm good at but the doing and the follow through, especially when it involves risk. Not great at that. I can get really yet. So I'm going to just be more bold in action. No matter what the outcome is, letting go of the outcomes, and just letting the Lord continue to lead me, whatever that means. So yeah.
Come on, risk taker. Come on, bold kingdom shaker. I know that's right. I encourage you in that. I'll be here to push you.
Yes,
Don't worry.
Will.
I'm a pusher, Katie. That's what it is. Well, thank you so much for coming. I'm so proud of you. And thank you for coming.
Thank you for
Love
having
you.
me. Love you.
Thank y'all for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.